Afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well. A little bit of a glitch there when I was trying to sort that out for some reason. OBS has been a bit daft, but should be all right now. How are we doing? Random, I know. Thought, fuck it, let's do a live. Why not? It's been a few weeks. Going to be a one next week for CPI reaction, but I'll wait for a few people to pop on. Feel free to say hello. Feel free to like the stream, which does help the algorithm, which usually most people do and want to say. Ideally, I don't care. But let's see how this market's going to react over the next few days. I think it's an important kind of phase in the market right now, in my opinion, even when we look at BTC. But yeah, feel free to jot some stuff down in the old chat box and we'll go through some stuff. And while I talk some stuff regarding this, interesting level, very, very interesting in terms of the breakout kind of situation that we've got. We've had a few little retests of this level, so this is why I'm a bit skeptical of it. We've had a few little level tests and then we melt a little bit, technically. So be very, very mindful of that. Over the course of the last few weeks, I have been buying stuff as well. I will go through that in a minute, but I'm a big advocate of buying big, juicy levels just for the thrill of it, really. Sometimes they bounce, sometimes they don't. This time it's bounced quite nicely. Therefore, my profit is looking pretty good as I sit today, even though I'm like skeptical of any futures trade. I would not want to put my money in this market as a futures trade right now, certainly where we are right now. I know a lot of people get the thrill of buying into big double-digit green candles, but realistically, it's not how you play the game. Got to be somewhat careful with that. So yeah, hello everyone. A lot of people jumping in now, which is quite good to see. Feel free to ask said questions. I won't be here all day, but you get the picture. I will answer a few questions if I can, providing you're not asking me to shill shite, which normally happens. Anywho, BTC, right? I just want to offer some perspective of what the charts are actually giving us, right? We are still in a bit of a range, and it's still, in my opinion, not clear-cut price action to kind of go, oh, this is looking pretty healthy. It's kind of ish good, but as I said before in previous kind of videos, like we need to kind of get a full, clear, and obvious move, and I don't think we've really had that on BTC. We've had it on a lot of altcoins, but ultimately as well, I've said it before, altcoins will do this and then drop back, and it's like, that was a bit of a whimper. Kind of hurts, kind of sucks, but it's just one of those. But weekly time frame, right, on BTC, looking a bit better, but we are still looking a bit, not sure. I'd rather just wait out and see what happens with BTC if you're going to take any action on BTC. Some altcoins look a lot better though. I would give you a bad example. Polkadot does not look very good in terms of price action. However, when you look at the likes of Matic, for example, much stronger. Look at BNB, much stronger, breaking out. And it's only really BNB and Matic that are really leading this market. You could argue Litecoin, but a bit of perspective, it's only done that. There's so much going on. There's so much going on at the moment, and a lot of people are getting really kind of filled up with these greeny ass candles when we've got to look at the likes of dominance, we've got to look at other things, but ultimately we've got to look at the higher time frames. This is a market. Everyone's calling for a bull market. We're going to run, we're going to carry on going. Reality is we've just hit a key level. We've hit a key level. We've got a little bit of demand and a little bit of news that's been coming out over the last few weeks that has kind of helped us a little bit, even though Bitcoin and the crypto market essentially has been running opposite to everything else. So I think 2 days ago, the dollar was pumping, the S&P was down, the Nasdaq was down, the yield and the 10-year bond for the US government were going up, Bitcoin was going up as well, and cryptocurrency was going up. It's like, oh, this is a bit odd. So we need to be careful of stuff like that. But for me, bear market rallies are very, very hard to deal with. They're very, very hard emotionally. And, when you think of the psychological side of it, it's pretty horrible when you think about it because you've been starved of green candles. You've been starved of these numbers. Now, in reality, these numbers look amazing, but as I've just alluded to it, when you go into like the weekly or the monthly time frame, not a lot's really moved, in all fairness. It's like, yeah, cool, right? There's always going to be time to get in when it is safe to do so. And this is where people get hurt. And I know a lot of people love to buy resistance. It's kind of like why people get wrecked. And this could be an absolute whimper by next week. It's 10th of November, CPI data is out. We could be going into that. The market might be pricing it in. And if we're looking at like, there's definitely no pivot, in my opinion, certainly coming anytime soon. Certainly when you listen to Jerome Powell, what he said on Wednesday, we went from hawkish to even more hawkish, if that's going to class as a pivot. So we're going to be somewhat careful of what the traditional market's going to give us. We've also got midterms to worry about. It's a hugely important level that you manage your risk, like realistically, because we have pumped. And as I said before, I've been buying key levels. Like, a lot of people on my Patreon will know this. Like, if I just go over to the Discord, on the 14th, I was buying stuff. I was buying a load of random shit. I was buying Dot, I was buying Glimmer, I was buying Nia. Most people know that, very, very obvious. But I was also buying all kinds of stuff. One of my Nia orders hit there. I've been buying all kinds. I was buying on the 1st of this month as well. If I can do it, there you go. Into my transparency account. At the end of the day, if you buy these levels that have been consolidating for a long time, if they do bounce, brilliant, great, get in. That's what you want. Sometimes you can take some money off the table. Sometimes you can hope it goes a little bit higher. Sometimes you can just, take what you can give. And, it's just one of those, it's quite hard. But I will talk about this because I think in an important kind of metric, the BTC dominance is going to be pretty damn important. We've went right up to this level. We'll talk about this for a few weeks now. We've rejected off it. However, it might well turn around it at any point very, very soon because we could be forming, an obvious higher low here, right? We've got to be somewhat careful. If profits are taken, and we've got to remember altcoins have run a lot. If you are thinking about starvation of green candles and people have not had it, and the market makers are like, oh, come on then, fall into this trap, and they take money off the table, they will dump pretty hard. And that's what you don't want. You don't want to be catching that move. And this is why I always say take profits. We are still in a long-term bear market in terms of the overall metrics on the higher time frames. It's a very, very different market, right? You can see that very clearly. Now, if we are going to bounce at this point and the dominance is going to change, you're going to see one thing only. Profits have been taken, right? Going on to those higher time frame kind of stuff, right? Even BNB, that looks absolutely brilliant, one of the most bullish ones, still could be classed as pretty bearish because when you look at the overall, trend of the chart, we could just be turning around at this point here, potentially. This could be a key psychological level to get above this level. If it rejects and it carries on going down, it's not going to be very, very good. That's why you don't want to buy these sort of levels because it's a bit stupid, really. Like, buying nearly double-digit green candles is the worst thing to do, and people do it. People want to do it, and people have been doing it, and this is why market makers just fill up and then they just drop it, and this is where the fundamentals of the market vanish. Doesn't matter on the fundamentals, realistically. Yes, great, lovely, but technicals are always going to win at this point because it's easy, because they're going to trap people in, and it's going to hurt. Even if you look at the likes of Ethereum on these higher time frames, doesn't really look like much has happened, and it hasn't. And this is why people are getting caught out in the emotions of it, because these little numbers are great, but ultimately, look at the structure. Have you missed out? Not really, but can you get a better order? Well, of course you can. You should have been buying last week. You should have been buying 2 months ago. Those sort of metrics are going to always play on your mind, and this is where you get a lot of, me speaking about perspective. I've been wrecked like this loads of times in 2018, 2019 by basically getting caught out by the FOMO and ultimately just looking at the green candles thinking, it's not going to turn around, boys. It's not going to turn around. And guess what? It does. And when it does, it hurts. And this is where you got to look at it. And, this is why I always say take some money off the table just in case, because look at the overall kind of metric. This chart looks very different to this. We've got to look at these kind of levels, right? Cycles happen. And ultimately, there's a bull market and there's a bear market, and they look very, very different, right? You can see that with the EMAs, you can see it with structure, you can see it with a lot of things. We are not looking anywhere like this. What we're looking like, a high rejection, a lower high, another potential lower high. You got to look at that and think, okay, we need to wait for something clear. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to go up, but it means that there's a definite risk and probability on your side that you want to have. You want to have the odds in your favor. It's the whole point of being in the market, right? You want to make money, and obviously, if you want to make money, you got to do the obvious. You got to put the odds in your favor. Most people don't, and this is why you lose money, because you're basically just buying off one random thing, one catalyst, one influencer, one bit of news, and it goes wrong. And that's where it gets worse, right? That's where there's a problem when you're just randomly jumping into it. Now, Matic is a great example, right? Bull market, boom. Solid asset, right? Yes, we've created an obvious kind of level. But why would you want to buy this? If you're looking to buy this for it to potentially go higher, now you remember this is news based. Why is it news based? Because Meta Labs or whatever it's called have basically announced that they're going to do NFTs on Instagram. It's a huge bit of news. But the reality is, right, we could go a little bit higher here, right? If we go to the obvious kind of rejection point here, we can go a little bit higher to the 618 level, and it could turn around. It could do a pullback, and those pullbacks could be quite aggressive. You've got to remember, this has moved, and I know the screen's relatively small here. It's moved 71% in that one impulse, right? That one big juicy impulse. This is a weekly time frame as well. You know, why would you want to buy off a 70% pump? You know, buying these levels, which has been pinpointed here, and this was a level that I was looking at and identifying in terms of some of my content, right, recently. I do think that Matic is going to go lower, but it's all hype right now. It's just the way the market is. If the macro remains shit, and we are going to see another pullback in the next few weeks, it's not going to be great. And that's where people get hurt. And this is where you don't want to get hurt ultimately, right? So pick your battles, pick your profit points, and just pick your assets, because the reality is, if you're not buying key levels and you're willing to wait for the bottom, you're probably going to set yourself up for failure anyways, because you're going to miss out on these little pumps anyways, because this is why you buy key levels. Like, I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face on a lot of things, but you know, yes, I'm bearish, but there's a right time to be bullish and there's a right time to be bearish. When you see prices down 80% on a lot of assets, look at key levels. And that's what I've just been doing. And ultimately, I've been buying stuff, but nothing major, you know, to like make gazillions of money. But ultimately, we're still, as I say, with a lot of assets, perspective is key. This is what we're looking. Look at Link. Link isn't even out of this range yet. There's so much out there. But you've got to look at it with a fine tooth comb. The way I look at the market, though, I use moving averages, I use momentum, I use all kinds of stuff. Let's just saw a question there. These are EMAs. These are, can't even remember to be fair, 8 and the 21 on the chart, if that helps. But that's the thing, right? You're looking at these daily kind of charts and you're looking at like, wow, this is amazing, but you got to remember other influencers in the space on Twitter and whatnot. They may be day trading, they may be scalping, whatever they're doing. You're getting caught in the emotions. If I'm looking long term, I would rather just wait. I'd rather wait and see if we get an obvious pullback into a real solid level of demand. And even when we're looking at BTC here, right? You know, when we zoom in on this, right, we're thinking, oh, great, look at this. 2-day time of whatever, right? Which is usually what I go for. We have had an impulse. We've had a little pullback and then a pop to the upside. But ultimately, right, we could still buy this and get a good little run because there's lots of levels and also fair value. BTC, you know, let's be honest here, buying at 21k BTC isn't the worst thing you can ever do. But ultimately, you could also think to yourself, well, if it does go lower, you can always buy more. But we've had a few rejections at these levels before. We need to be somewhat careful. And this is why I'm like a little bit concerned, because BTC isn't pumping as much. The BTC dominance is flying down. If the rug is pulled on the altcoins and it is just a liquidity grab, they're going to fall pretty hard. And this is where I was saying on my tweets like 2 days ago, just be careful because there could be a bloodbath. And that bloodbath is market makers taking profit. And what have they done? They've just trapped a lot of retail people in thinking it's the end of the cycle. It's a new bull market. And this is why I'm saying perspective. This is why the title of this video is what it is. Do not get caught out. Because these bear market rallies will rip your head off, literally. And do you want to lose 10% in a day, 20% in a day? You know, you'll handle the 8, the 9, the 10% gains and you won't think about it. You'll be blind to it. Be like, oh, it's going to carry on going up. It's going to carry on going up. And guess what? Boom. One little shakeout and you're basically destroyed. Especially if you're on leverage. Don't use leverage. Jesus Christ. If you're going to use leverage, use low leverage. There's no benefit from using higher leverage. You're just going to pay more fees anyways. But yeah, there's my waffle done. We've got to look at a few things. The dollar has dropped quite significantly today, which is always interesting. I don't look at this as a front-running kind of indicator for me, but personally, it has a bit of weight, but not a massive amount of weight. I'd rather look at the S&P, which is pumping quite significantly today. But it's still, if you look at the higher time frames, this is still in a pretty clear and obvious downtrend. It's like, boom, new lows, up. If this closes here red, could be very, very interesting. Anyways, feel free to like this video. I'll go through some questions and whatnot. I can see a few questions anyways, to be fair, but the whole element to me shilling shit is not going to happen. I probably won't go too deep on like, what do you think of this coin? What do you think of that coin? Because I genuinely just don't really care. Don't really look at many altcoins these days. I only look at the selected few. But yeah, it's great to see people randomly turn up. I will be live on Thursday for the CPI reaction, because there's always something going on CPI days, which is pretty good fun. Certainly when you're trying not to I wouldn't recommend trading those days. Let it settle out a little bit. It gets mental. But yeah, for me right now, I'm just sitting right tight on my levels, and I'm happy with what I bought, to be fair. My Polkadot orders are looking pretty decent right now. Just happily staking those. Right, what questions have we got? Got quite a few. View on the latest Fed minutes. I've not really looked at the minutes, but I've looked at what was been said. I think they're going more hawkish. The way I look at the Fed right now, and we're looking at the CPI data on Thursday, the way I like to look at it, if they're not going to get below 8% anytime soon, I think the market will crash anyways. I think the market will dump, because we've been over 8% since March, and we've done so many base point hikes since then. We've done 4 consecutive of 75 base points, which is fucking a lot, by the way. And if we don't get below 8%, but even today we're looking at the data, like crude oil's gone up massively. There's quite a few things that have gone up. So lagging data for future months, if oil keeps going up, it's also Christmas time. Oil traditionally goes up at like those sort of times because it's traveling season. It could be very, very interesting. We may not even get inflation down anytime soon, which could be... how do you see the BTC dominance moving until the end of the year? I personally believe we are going to bounce at some point, because I do think this is a little bit of fuckery with the market makers. I think they are going to try and trap people because they want to get paid. It's Christmas time. They want to bugger off. And, you know, I don't like to do technical analysis on this sort of stuff in terms of dominance, because it's literally an index, right? But ultimately, like with this, it could just pop up and just carry on going back up again. You know, we could be just forming a nice little lower high, and this is basically because of these pumps. When the corrections happen, this is going to go do this. So we've got to be somewhat careful, very, very careful with it. NIA is strong. Yeah, I like NIA. I'm an investor in NIA. I think that's open knowledge anyways. I openly buy and stake that. I'm quite happy with it. Great ecosystem. What other questions have we got? We'd like to know more about when to trade BTC with alts. Times like this, basically. So this now, in terms of the BTC dominance, because this is going down, it's a good opportunity to essentially ride the trend. I wouldn't ride the trend now at these bottom areas, but you missed the boat. If you were buying altcoins with BTC, you probably would have seen them much lower. Now, obviously, as it goes down, that BTC pair will increase. You've got to do it in that kind of metric. What is your opinion on the argument that cryptocurrency is a massive Ponzi scheme? The whole entire stock market's a Ponzi scheme. Anything financial is literally a Ponzi scheme. It's just how money works, right? There's always going to be a buyer and a seller. The last person to buy always gets shut on. You know, it's not so much in terms of commercial revenue, in terms of generating income, in terms of like the traditional Ponzi schemes that you see as scams. But ultimately, they're manipulated in a way that you've got to invest. And the more you invest, the more it goes up. And ultimately, that's just the way it is. But it's just, yeah, the stock market's an open Ponzi scheme. You can just see by the mechanics of it. Is it time to buy? I wouldn't be buying today, no. What's your opinion on recent interest rate hikes? I've just kind of alluded to it before. I think it's 4 consecutive in a row for the US. I think the UK had the biggest in 33 years. That's massive as well. But ultimately, like, they've got to curb inflation, right? I've said it before. Since March, they've been over 8% in the US, right? Well, when's it going to come down? And if it isn't going to come down, are they going to get more aggressive? But will being more aggressive create more problems? That is a problem. You know, ultimately, like, we've got to start to see some progress somewhere. But the way I see it, right, pumping the markets and the reaction being good is not great for inflation anyways, because that's going to just encourage more investors, which is going to encourage more expenditure, which is going to encourage more inflation anyways down the line. So something radical is going to happen, and it will happen, but I just don't know when it's going to happen, because when we look at the S&P 500, there's still, I think anyways, personally, a lot more room to go to the downside, certainly on the stock market side of it. Whether that impacts crypto or not, I don't know. But if there is a liquidity crisis because they are still remaining to pull money out of the market and becoming illiquid, that's where we're going to get problems, and that's where we're going to start getting margin calls and all kinds of random, weird and horrible, ugly shit. But I think it's very, very early. I think this is just a typical bear market rally at the moment. And also as well, the S&P and the NASDAQ and stuff like that have had a pretty dire month or two. It's going to bounce. It's always going to bounce. It always does, because why not? Just the way the markets move. BTC dominance might go up, but it might not mean that the altcoins would go up. Ultimately, if the BTC dominance does change, it's because of the altcoin behavior. That's usually why it does it. When Bitcoin below 10k, I still have a feeling that we're going to get a snap to the downside. You know, I don't know whether this is just past experience in clouding my judgment, but when I look back and we look at like stuff like this, where this is where we are right now and this is where we were, I know it's fucking tiny to see, but the when we just drop so hard randomly, that hurt. And if we're looking at the mining hash rate and the mining algorithm and all kinds of stuff like that, you could make a base case that the miners may just shut up shop for a bit and just try and get that hash rate down. There's so many different, you know, catalysts that could create another downside move, but we're still in a downtrend. Like when we look at this market, it's just clear and obvious, right? We've got these highs, we've got a low, we've got another, you know, lower high, we've got a lower low here. Are we just going to just melt from this point? You know, I know it's all what if and maybes and stuff, but don't rule anything out, because if we do drop, that is a massive level to lose. Like, I know we've been holding it for like, you know, literally since what, May, June time. If we lose that level, oh, it's going to hurt. It's going to really hurt. And I think a lot of people will be feeling the pain. I don't tend to use a VIX, to be fair. I understand the volatility of it, but I don't tend to use it. Between Ethereum, BNB, Cardano, and DOT, which are you most bullish on? I'd buy all of them, easily. I'd buy all of them. There you go. There's a good answer for you. AI is pumping again. Don't get caught up. That's only pumping because of the meta news, to be fair. Is it worth selling your alt into BTC? I would. If you have got a little bit of money to run with, like, let me just show you a few examples, because you'll probably be a bit confused if you're new around here. You know, if you're on, look at this, for example, man. Like, this is the BNB BTC chart. If you've been holding BNB for a long time, like, let's just say, right, you've been an advocate of BNB since freaking 2020. You know, look at how much it's worth in BTC, for example. Blue sky breakouts were flying. Matic's another example here. If you're a long-term holder of Matic and you want a little bit of BTC, there's nothing wrong with selling like 10% of your bag into BTC and just going, you know what, I got some BTC here. Sweet, happy days. Because look at the value, ridiculous. This is why the likes of the BNB, the Bitcoin dominance is just so low at the moment. It's pretty scary, but it's just the way it is. I mean, they're just bullish at the moment. Some things get bullish, some things don't. Do you see 2023 as a long year of console? Potentially. The way I look at the market, it's very, very low. Like, look at this live, for example, right? There's 130 of you in here. Usually, in a bull market, there'll be over 2,000 people in here. The market interest is very, very different. It's because no one's interested. If we go high enough, if BTC goes to 25k and above, if Ethereum is well over 2,000, if, you know, certain things are happening, people will come back. We all know the normies will come back. We don't like to insult them, but they are normies. They're like, the people that are in here for a reason. You want to actually do something. You want to invest at the lows. You want to make money. You want to ultimately learn and become better. But the people that are like not really giving a shit, only come back when it's really, really green and it's like all-time highs, they're the people that you want to smash in the markets, because ultimately that's what the market is. It's trying to get your coins from you, right? You need to keep all of them. You need to make wise decisions. And, you know, it annoys me when people come into the market when it's stupid. Like, I get it on Learning Crypto all the time, or even my Patreon, right? You know, something will be up like 50% in like a few days, like probably the next few weeks, right? I'll probably do a request video, ask for my request, and I'll probably get all the same stuff. I'll expect Matic will be in there. The likes of Litecoin will be in there. Certain things that are pumped. It's always because of interest, right? And that's why I look at the interest in the market. But if the market interest isn't going to be there will be consolidation, because I know a lot of people are bored right now. You know, when we look at BTC, I mean, look at that. It's hardly moved. Realistically, it's hardly moved. We've gone from the highs of 25k to the lows of 18k in a matter of, what, 4 or 5 months? It's pretty boring, that, isn't it? When you consider the fact that we would have done that in like a matter of 2 days in the bull cycle. It's mad. Do you get involved in any micro cap coins? Not really, no. Don't really see the point. Personal opinion, I don't need to. They're risky. I know a lot of people do them for fun. I know a lot of people do them as a paid disclosure, shill, whatever, especially influencers. A lot of them do that, so just be very, very mindful. Certainly when I look online, and if you're in my Patreon, you'll know I have a shill list, which is very, very quiet at the moment because no one's actually messaging me. Another big indication that the market's kind of died off a little bit. But ultimately, when I see people promoting coins and like low cap coins, they are very risky in a market like this because the revenue is going to be very, very different, especially if they're an ERC20 token. They've got no real utility. It's just the way it is. It's just like certain coins need to carry on going, and some will fail. Quite a majority of them will fail, and some of them are pretty shit, to be fair. But if they survive a bear market, they're going to be low price anyways. So certainly when the market starts ramping up again, you'll still get the opportunity. So there's plenty of time to look at low cap coins. Personally, I'd rather get a big list and then look after the bear market's kind of played out. But I do not think we've played out yet. Nowhere near. Atom's a good asset. It's on my earner portfolio list in terms of my portfolio that I want to invest in. I've got 5 assets, $5,000. Atom's the obvious one for obvious reasons. It's pretty cool, but just depends where it's going to go. In terms of price action, it's not doing too bad recently, which is kind of annoying because I want to buy the bloody thing for my little portfolio. Give me. So yes, not looking too shabby. This is the bit of PA that I had recently. Looking at this sort of level, looking at the bearish approach. But for me, this is a big key level. Get above this, it'll get interesting. But, if you're going to look at bullish, we've kind of like flew into a little level here. And we could go quite a bit higher, but it still seems all right. But we're like aping into this right here. It's a bit risky. You wanted to buy these levels. You wanted to buy down here, like these levels here. Big, juicy levels, but it's just risky at the moment. I wouldn't want to just ape in. If we get a rally, would you consider it risky to get back in stable? I'm not really that bothered, to be fair, about my stables. I've still got over 50% in stables, to be fair. I could put more in, to be fair, but we'll see how it goes. Can you do a video on staking, please? How it works? Not particularly. Staking's boring, man. If you go to your asset that you're researching, you should know if it's staking. Like if you look at Polkadot, it tells you how to stake. If you look at Atom, it tells you how to stake it. It's all about research. I wouldn't just go on Google and just go and plonk it in. But there's websites called Staking Rewards. It's a website that will help you. But ultimately, the main website of the asset that you're looking to buy will tell you very, very specifically, can you stake it? It's all about research. So every coin is different. There's no point doing one video because I'll have to do like 100 because every protocol is different. Some of them have, third-party wallets. Some of them have ledgers within. Some of them they all have different reward weights. They all have different payout schedules. They all have different lockups. It's a minefield. And ultimately, like to stake, you need to buy the asset, but you need to buy the right asset. And most assets, if you do your research, will literally tell you straight away, can you stake it? It's all in the documents. You just got to do the hard yards and read it all. Gets pretty boring though when you do that. God, I'm not holding Plu at all. No chance. I wasn't really a big fan of Pluton as a token. I was a fan of the opportunity in the bull market, but they moved the goalposts in terms of what they did. So as soon as I started doing videos about, oh, look at this low cap coin, it's going to do this, that, and the other, and it fucked me up because they changed the whole revenue mechanism and they made it so it actually favored the company and not the asset user, which fucked me off, obviously. So when we looked at it in terms of the fair value of it, yeah, it was like a low cap coin, but the tokens that the methodology of the membership was just a bit dumb, and I thought, why have you changed it? So yeah, basically they went from you had to hold in Pluton to get the rewards to the bin that off, and then you got to pay monthly as like a card payment and fiat. It doesn't make sense. It's also an ERC20 token, but no, I don't like to use any payment cards or crypto now because it's just another tax event, and taxation's an absolute mentalist. Why is BTC pumping? Don't know. Don't care. Let it do its thing. 1,000 dot staking can get you 130 per dot, but if it goes at 100, that's yep. Yeah, with staking, you've got to remember, and I'm going to do a Twitter post about this. You got to remember the units. Now you can buy low units now be pretty excited about having the low units because, you know, trying to buy like 1,000 Polkadot at $55, for example, all-time high, is very expensive. Buying 1,000 now is not as much, you know, in terms of expense, right? But the units that you're going to make in the staking rewards is always going to be the same, right? So as you say there in that comment, whatever you're going to make, it could be worth more. But it's also compounding. You can compound it up. If you do dot right and do it for the JS or through certain protocols, you can actually make a compound, which is pretty cool. Therefore, it adds up. And, you know, 1,000 dot could be, you know, a lot more in the future as it compounds up, especially if you keep buying a dip and stuff. And I've been staking dot for a while. I'm pretty happy to do so. Stake near as well, stake glimmer, you know, they all add up. And even if you're making $10 to $20 a day on like 4 or 5, 6, 7 different assets that you're holding anyways, to be fair, if you're like a hodler and you're happy to stake them, you know, why not? Because the value appreciation is potentially, if they're good solid assets, going to go up. Therefore, you can take more profit, therefore you can have more to play with, or just do whatever. It's not too bad. But no, the downside with staking is the lockup periods on some of them. I wouldn't recommend exchanges because they kind of, yeah, they do it a bit shit, to be fair. But yeah, as long as it's native and it's fine, it's not too bad. Beta 4 network, oh god, 4 weeks away. Why do they need mainnet 4.0? Like, the way I look at it, you know, Beta is a good solid asset, but the problem is it's trying to compete with some massive networks, and I think to myself, will it work? And I don't know, like the price has just melted over the last year. How low could dot go? Don't know, to be fair. I was buying at the lows, like literally like these lows here. When it popped below this point, I was buying it. I was like, yep, give me dot, give me dot, give me dot. And I was buying at like 560, 580 levels, right? No, it wasn't 560, sorry. I tried 560, but it didn't happen. I got at 580 though, I remember that. One of my big levels, like, yes! And now it's pumped up a bit. But for me, like, again, it's the same as the market, right? If BTC loses that big, juicy level, like, as I say, that big fuck-off level, you know, we could see it go, like, down into the $5 region, which is around where these points are. If that happens, I'll be filling up because at the end of the day, it's all about having conviction in your investments. No investment's going to be perfect. They never are. But it's all about doing the research and having the risk management on board, the ability to make passive income in these. Certainly with Polkadot, I think it's like 16, 17% returns at the moment, which is pretty good. Yeah, there's a lockup period, but at the end of the day, the lockup period doesn't really matter. Just don't stake all your bag. Stake 75% of it, keep 25% out, boom. If it pops up to like $10, $12, whatever, take some profit. Happy days. Doesn't really matter, but it's just one of those. What's your thoughts on Federal Reserve and MTV? Should we DCR? Leave it. It's up to you. Your research. Not my problem. Do your own research. At the end of the day, I bought MTV as I sold my Zilliqa. I put a percentage bag into it. I got 70% out of it, and I got out of it. I recommended on Federal Reserve, really, really low. It went up to $1.70. Didn't take profit like an idiot, but I did take some profit at like $1, and it went up to the fucking moon. And everyone gave me shit for it because I took profit and people didn't. It's all about you guys. I don't push the trigger for anyone. It's all about the research. Research is king, but ultimately it's all about risk as well. Risk management key. Any word on NIFA by the end of December? What do you mean by any word of it? Is it going to do something? Is it the merge going to happen again? Whatever's merge, I don't know, withdrawals or something. The way I look at the market as well, look at the weekly time frame on Ethereum. It's right on the EMA 21. If that rejects, it could be fun. That's a biggie. But then again, a lot of assets have also blasted right the way through it. Boom. Some of them are nowhere near kind of blasting through it, to be fair. But it's just the way it is. Look at DOT, for example. BNB is flying. BNB is such a strong asset at the moment. It's ridiculous. But it's good. Wish I held on to my BNB from a while ago. Sold it. Never mind. Shit happens. Anyone got any more questions before I run away? Just a short Zoom to kind of give you some sort of feedback in terms of my perspective on the market in a potential rally. Been talking about this like a few days ago in terms of like learning crypto about potential bear market rally vibes. I'm definitely getting them now. If it carries on, great. Keep your positions, but in my opinion, I wouldn't add to the positions until we get a genuine pullback. That pullback could be a great little area to see if we actually do have demand. But right now, Matic's running the market easily. But we'll see how it goes. Kevin Wood went back to the tech job, but still much. Why do you think it's kind of obvious that it's not moving? It's a bear market. The thing is, if you go into the depths of Polkadot ecosystem, it's growing. It's growing a lot, and you got to. This is where you got to do your research. It doesn't matter if like they're not doing announcements. You got to remove yourself away from coins that are pumping shit on social media. It fucks me off when I see like Veracity, for example, right? They did a whole article and a whole like song and dance about Amazon ads. I could get one of you guys to do this. I can get someone to go, if you go on Amazon ads and make a new account for your social media profile, do it. Great. Anyone can do that. It's easy. With Polkadot, they do it the right way. They do it by actually giving you announcements because there is an announcement. A lot of assets, crypto especially, they try and pump you with fake announcements and bullshit just to put fluff up your ass, right? But if you actually look into the data of Polkadot, the reserves are growing massively. The stakers are growing massively. The validators are growing massively. You know, the parachains are getting bigger. The amount of transactions on Glimmer is getting bigger. Even Akala, places like that, right? It's a growing ecosystem. They've also got the most developers out of any project at the moment that are live. They're literally attracting developers from all over the place. But no one really wants to hear that because it's not really great, glamorous news. So they just carry on building in the background. So for me, it's an absolute doozy. Like, you've got to be looking at projects like that are growing. Don't look at the ones that are blowing fluff up your ass because it's pointless. RSR is a great example as well. They're growing massively. Like, the amount of transactions they've got with the new mainnet. But they're not singing and dancing about it because they just want to build on what they're doing. Some projects are dodgy by just giving you shit information on social media trying to pump the bags because VCs want to get paid. It's just the way it is. Some are good. Atom's another great example of like just cracking on, just not really fluffing you up, just giving you some information when they need to. Just the way it is. Pick up some FTX and LC if you regret buying. Nah, FTX is shit. Don't trust that guy at all. What a knob. Anyways, I'm going to go. Have fun. Don't buy double-digit green candles before you get destroyed. If you bought the key levels and you're running with them, ensure you keep, taking some profit off the table just in case things go entirely wrong. It might not. It might carry on going, which means you can run in your position for much longer, right? But that being said, if we do turn around, it might sting, especially when you look at that BTC dominance. It's pretty savage right now. Anyways, thanks for turning up. If you like, leave a like. And yeah, see you on Thursday. I'll be live on Thursday. I will be doing a video before then, but